Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Hello, hello, good night, good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Fayutem, my Irish friends, thank you for being here with us. It's a pleasure share this moment with my friends here. Take advantage of the virtual gathering, you know. And today we're gonna talk about linking our thoughts with the divinity. So protecting ourselves and link our thoughts with the divinity. So that's it for me. Let's the other friends introduce themselves.
Olá a todos, boa noite, aqui de Londres. É com muita alegria que adentramos aos seus lares com a sua permissão e aos seus corações, levando a mensagem tão importante da nossa live. Hello everybody, good evening, good afternoon, good morning. It's a great pleasure to be here again. Take from us our important topic tonight to everyone that we can think about how to connect ourselves to God, to the divinity. So it's a very important topic, and I hope you all can contribute with your questions or your comments. Thank you.
Labas diena, labas vakaras, labas rytas visiems. Šiandien kalbėsime apie dvasingumą, sveikatą, protą, Dievą ir kaip galime turėti tą ryšį su Dievu ir kaip būti sveika. Ir tikiuosi, kad jums bus labai naudinga. Thank you very much for your participation. I hope you enjoy it. We are talking about the divinity, the spirituality, and how can we connect them both and be healthier. Hope you enjoy. Thank you very much.
Bonjour, bonsoir. Merci encore une fois d'être parmi nous, de nous donner cette occasion de vous apporter quelques éclaircissements sur cette très belle philosophie qui nous aide tellement dans notre vie. Et donc aujourd'hui, sur ces questions de syntonie, de se syntoniser avec la divinité, avec les bons esprits qui font la volonté aussi de cette divinité, et donc pour notre bonheur et notre santé physique et morale. Voilà. Hello, good morning, good evening. Happy to be here again with you to talk about this important topic today, about this wonderful philosophy we have embraced and which is helping us so much for our life, for overcoming the difficulties, for being as happy as possible on this earth. And today, touching this subject of syntony with divinity, how this law of the thoughts, which are governing everything in the spiritual world, basically. So thanks again for being with us today, and hope you will enjoy our little talks.
Great. Thank you very much, all. I want to say hello to our friends in Canada, like Rwanda, El Katz, our friends from Brazil, Marisa, happy to have you here, Sweden, and Germany. Thank you for being here with us. Also, I know we have friends from UK, but there's no message here, so I cannot show, but thank you all for having us today. So let's, as usual, put a introductory video, and then we can start today's discussion. Okay, let me put it here.
By having something we believe in, by creating for ourselves a construct, psychological construct of something that is grander than all of us. And then there's no right or wrong in this case. That is what we believe in. It's a very personal experience. But by having this, by creating this construct that is something that is much larger than what we are, we can then project a future for ourselves, a situation of improvement, even if it's not something that can be carried out at that very moment. There is a faith that we think of religious faith, and in that sense, it gives us a strength that is not based on technology, for instance. But there is also that faith in humanity, the faith in the professionals of the health area that are going to assist us in that moment of need, in that moment of difficulty. There is also faith in humanity in the sense of the technological advancements that we have at our disposal today to tackle that difficult situation. And I think in that sense, the faith of something that is grander, that is larger than what we are, it can assist us because we can experience, or at least we can project a purpose that perhaps the objectivity of the immediatism cannot give to us. The immediatism would be the cure. That would be what anyone who is in a difficult, going through a difficult infirmity would want, would desire. But then you also have the situations where we know it can be a battle that for the moment we don't have a cure for, or that we don't have the necessary tools, medical tools, nursing tools to address it. So the faith would allow us to have resignation, will allow us to get a better understanding of and cope better with that situation. Even though we cannot see in the near future a cure for it, we will live better through that experience. We will not be as miserable, I would put it this way. And I think it has major psychological impacts. And faith here is in the most generic sense of the word possible. It doesn't have to be the religious faith that we would say ritualistic faith, but that feeling, that internal feeling that allow us to devise a better purpose for ourselves.
Okay. So it's important for us to understand our process of thought, and I really like not a statement, a comment from Kardec, and we can find this in the Spiritist magazine from 1864, December edition, and the title is Communication of Thoughts. And Kardec basically says that the thoughts, they act in an ambient of fluids, okay? The same way the sound acts in the air. So we need the air to propagate the sounds, so we need the fluids to propagate our thoughts, okay? So with this way, we create these waves, these rays, in order to reach ourselves or to reach those who are surrounding us. And even though those who are close to us and those who are far away from us. So the power of thought, the power of we have in able to thinking something. This has the ability to put us down or put us up. So it's up to us to decide what do we want. And of course, like when we are surrounded by thoughts of depression, surrounded by thoughts of I'm not happy with my life, I'm not happy with my achievements, I'm not happy with my life, we will make connection where we open communication with spirits and people who are in the same vibration. And instead of get rid of these vibrations, we will have more vibrations like this. And we're getting deeper in this, let's say, wrong way of thinking. And the opposite is the same valid. When we have high evolved thoughts, high evolved thinking, surrounded by good friends, like that's why I'm here. See, huh? I'm surrounded by three best friends here. So we have a better chance to be in connection with good spirits. That's a little bit of the introduction here, because today we will discuss a little bit of depression, suicidal thoughts, how we can prevent, how we need to deal with. And in order to start today, nothing better than we start with science. That's why I'm inviting here my dear friend Nadja. Let's go to Lithuania right now and ask her if it's possible to avoid or even revert the suicidal thoughts, no? With the power of our thinking, with the power of our thoughts. So it's possible to revert it. There is anything in science saying, oh, this work or this doesn't work?
Yeah, before I go to science, thank you very much for your question. Thank you very much for all that are now listening to it. I'm going to read 3 paragraphs from a book of Joanna de Angelis, psychographed by Divaldo Franco, called Glorious Days. The cultivation of anesthetizing or toxic thoughts produces unsuspected damage to the individual, to the environment in which he moves, to the society of which he is a part. The same fact occurs when its quality is high and saturated with hopes, productive ideas, generating continuous transformations for the better in the being that sustains them, as well as around them, radiating out and reaching the social group that surrounds them. The brain, under the command of the mind, responds according to the kind of orders it receives, contributing health, stimulating enzymes, or toxins that will destroy the sensitive equipment of the organic, emotional, and mental machinery. The mind, however, can fall prey to habits that take root, becoming degenerative factors for the thinking being. It's essential, therefore, that is renewed, cultivating high ideas that generate responses of well-being. Joanna de Angelis is our psychologist in the spiritual world. Yeah? But the mechanisms of action of spiritual healings, or how spiritual therapies work, such as how self-healing, distance healing, energy healings, laying on of hands techniques, the power of prayers, Reiki, they still need to be better understood through serious methodological research. No? As we mentioned before, our heart and our brain, well, the whole body and the whole universe has a magnetic field. And it has been measured now by a magnetometer device called SQUID, superconducting quantum interference device, that it measured the magnetic field of the heart and the brain. And it showed that the magnetic field of the heart is 100 times stronger than the brain magnetic field. And it can be felt by another person, so 6-7 feet away, so 1.5 meter away. I will ask Stevan to put the first link that I put in the chat to everybody, so people can get this research, because it's a very interesting topic and even interesting research, and because it shows how the frequency, how the magnetic field of the heart and of our body works, and it depends on feelings and emotions. This magnetic field can alter the quantum states or the energy levels of each of our atoms, molecules inside our cells, promoting homeostasis or disturbing the way the cells works. The epigenetics, as we mentioned in the previous slides, show that how we can turn on and off how the genes express. So with our mental thoughts, with our the power of our thoughts, with our physical activities, with the nutrition. During this pandemic, there was a deterioration of in population mental health, a higher prevalence of self-harm, suicidal thoughts due to lack of social interaction, loneliness, problems accessing mental health services, unemployment, domestic violence, child neglect, financial insecurity, feelings of being a burden for someone, and all of this altogether has deteriorated the mental health of the population in the world. And although suicide in young people is relatively rare, since 2010, more or less, the rates have been rising in 10 to 24-year-olds. So Dr. Harold Koenig, the psychiatrist in the Duke University in the USA, he wrote a comprehensive systematic review on religion and spirituality, both in mental and physical health in 2012. The papers were collecting information and they were being published from 1872 to 2010. But they are still very much current since his publication, so 10 years, almost 10 years after. The difference now that we are giving much more attention to the mental health, and we are publishing more. And since the mid-90s, there is an increase in studies published regarding religiosity and spirituality and mental health and health in general. So mental health papers published are almost 80% from 10,000 that you can find in Google Scholar search, for example. And not only in medical or nursing journals, it can be in occupational health, social work, public health, economics, law, pastoral care. And it shows that we are giving much more attention to the mental health problem nowadays. So Dr. Harold Koenig, he classified the positive outcomes as well-being, happiness, hope, optimism, and gratefulness. And the negative outcomes were depression, suicide, anxiety, psychosis, substance abuse, crime, marital status as well. So religion and spirituality, according to his review, help people to cope with a wide range of illnesses in a variety of stressful situations. So chronic disease, cardiovascular disease, or heart problems, chronic pain, bereavement, cancer, caregiver burden, end-of-life issues, psychiatric issues, so depression, anxiety, and also it was included natural disasters, war, and other adverse life events. So in quoting him, in the overwhelming majority of studies, people reported that religion and spirituality was helpful. So when you see the results, it showed that hope, optimism, and forgiveness had 73, 81, and 85% consecutively reported significant positive relationship with religion and spirituality and health, with no negative association found. So there was nothing saying against mental health and religiosity when people were showing hope and optimism, forgiveness. And meaning and purpose had a 93% significant positive relationship. So these studies were often in population that were on having chronic disability illnesses, and so they had a very big challenge of finding meaning and purpose in life. And religious and spiritual beliefs, they provide also an indirect sense of control, because when you believe, when you know in difficult situations that Buddha, God, Allah, a high spiritual force is in control, and then praying for them and connecting your thoughts to them, it will change things. It will change the situation you are living. So religions provide an optimistic view. Religion and spirituality, this connection with the higher source, may involve also an existence of a personal transcendental force, so God, Allah, Jehovah, that loves and cares about humans. So this, and is responsible for their needs. So when the person feels that someone with a higher power loves them and cares about them and is responsible to their needs, not responsible for the things that are happening to them, but responsive to the needs, to the care, to the what are they asking for. So they feel this security, this little bit of control of the situation. And we know that many papers that have already published, the praying and meditation can reduce the blood pressure, respiratory rate. So yeah, of course, it's a better oxygenation of your heart and your brain. And also we create this bond when we are praying to someone. We are creating this bond, this connection to the person, to your guardian angel, to God, to the energy that you're praying and connecting for. And most religions, they emphasize love to others, compassion, altruistic acts like volunteering, social activities. In these situations, the person who is suffering from this, the burden of the negative thoughts, the depression, if they can get involved in social activity and volunteering, they get distracted from themselves, their own problems, and they put they focus on the others, on others' problems. So they take this heavy weight from their shoulders. The important message is that the practice of human virtues, so honesty, gratefulness, love, patience, forgiveness, increase positive emotions and neutralize negative ones. So this all contributes to having a positive view of the situation, even difficult situations in daily life, avoid negative thoughts. So it's very difficult to realize that is happening. So just before we start our lives, our good friend was telling his story, because he was suffering from depression, having suicidal thoughts, but he couldn't get disconnected from these thoughts. So these thoughts were coming every day, all the time, for many years. And he was working normally. He was having his job at night. So during the day, he was sleeping 10, 12 hours per day, but at night, he had to go to work. And at work, he was always complaining, but he didn't notice it. He was always being negative, but he didn't notice it until someone said something to him that made like that click. And he is from a spiritual family, so he knew about suicide and what was the consequences of the suicide. He knew that life goes on, and that even if he committed the suicide, he knew that his soul, his spirit, was going to be finished. He knew that he was continuing. So this held him of committing the suicide, but all the depression and the strong negative feelings and thoughts and the heaviness that he was feeling, he was still there for many years until he went to the doctor. He got medication, and he started being more clear of his thoughts, of what he was making him feel that way. He could separate what was going on, because until starting medication, he wasn't able to do anything, and he wasn't recognizing this thing, the problem. So it was important for him to take the medication and then start going to therapy, and because he thought that he didn't need therapy, so until he started taking medication and clearing his mind, and then he started having medication, going to the therapist, psychotherapist, doing the auto-hypnosis, meditation, and his life is 20 years ago. So until now, he's saying that he's much, much better not having any negative thoughts. So sometimes, of course, life is hard. He goes through difficult situations, financial situation, marital status, sometimes not can be in a life, a relationship with anyone can be difficulties at work, but he knows now how to differentiate these thoughts and continue. So my recommendation, my thought, my summary now here is just to keep the effort, keep going. I think it's very hard. It's a very difficult situation, but persist. Persistence is very important at this moment, and everything will be fine. That's it.
Thank you, my dear. Thank you very much. By the way, before we jump in another discussion here, we have a question here, and Guilherme is asking us, is thought energy? Is energy matter? Does what we think becomes matter? So,
yeah, André Luiz said that our thoughts are made of photons and electrons that are not in the same vibration as the photons and the electrons that we know here on Earth. So the universal cosmic fluid is matter, but we just don't touch it. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. So everything is energy. So our thoughts are fluid, and they can be influenced by the high spirit and also by the low level spirits, low vibration spirits, depending on our vibration. So yes, there was more question there. I'm sorry. Can you put it again? Is the question. If it was energy is matter, so yes, thought is energy, yes, and that's what we think become matter. Yes, because our thoughts can be, because our thoughts are matter, they can be transformed in something, or they can affect the other person or affect your own cells, and you can change your cells to the good or to the bad, so to health or to disease.
okay. Thank you. Okay. So let me go now to France. It's a very warm day in France today. Yeah. So in London as well, you know. But my dear friend Charles, there is a book called Evolution to the Third Millennium, in part 2, chapter 5, item 11, from Carlos Toledo Rizzi. He says, the degree of similarity of the mental emotions or radiations of two or more spirits, incarnated or discarnated, people and spirits who have similar thoughts, feelings, and ideals are in tune. In other words, attunement is a physical expression of a deeper reality, which is moral affinity. Do you believe that the tuning define our vibratory harmony or our identity?
Yes, thank you. Thanks for the question, Stevan. Sure, of course. We can see even, let's say, when I was young, I was playing rugby at the school. And when you play rugby, you can see that it's not always the strongest individuals who are winning the game. It's basically the strongest team. And what is then uniting the team? It is how to say, this tuning between the members. Everyone's pushing in the same direction, doing the same things, moving in a synchronized move, and so on. And then even with smaller players or whatever, you end up winning. That's clear. So it is a reality already in the material world. Now, going to the spiritual world, it's even stronger. Why? Because we know that the thought, we talked about faith also. The faith is somehow motivating our thoughts. And the thought is what is governing everything in the spiritual world. There is no matter anymore. We are not in the 4 dimensions anymore. 3 space dimensions and 1 time dimension, which is our how to say the materialist paradigm or model today. And in the spiritual world, you have additional dimensions where everything is basically governed by thoughts. Thoughts is, for instance, the way that the spirits are communicating between themselves. It's telepathy, transmission of thoughts directly. Even during mediumistic communication, for instance, it's also a kind of a telepathy which helps the spirits of which wants to communicate, discarnated spirits, to communicate with the spirits of the incarnated medium, who can then capture these thoughts and then transcribe it in different, depending on the forms of mediumship, by voice or writing or whatever else. So the thought is governing everything in the spiritual world. Thought is also explaining idioplasty. The question just before my talk from Guilherme is has a thought influence on matter? It's not so easy to answer. The answer of Nadja is correct, but it's a little bit more complicated than that. The thought has an influence on the spiritual matter or the fluids, depending how we call it. So it's not yet directly the physical matter, the tangible matter. And acting on this spiritual fluids, on the universal cosmic fluid, for instance, the spirits, they can, through their thoughts and their willing, create objects, spiritual objects somehow, or even more things like complete astral cities, as we could see for instance, in the movie Astral City or No Solar, where you have a full city with buses and everything, ministries and whatsoever, which have a reality for the spirits which are living there. So which is a reality in the spiritual worlds. And how has all this been constructed? Not really with the hands, as we do in the incarnated world. It has been constructed through the thoughts. Okay, and not only one thought, the thought of one spirit, but it's a combination of thoughts of several inhabitants of this city who managed to create that reality in the spiritual world. Okay, Kardec was already describing this in the Medium's book when he was in the chapter called The Laboratory of the Invisible World. And he was asking, but the spirit is saying he has these boxes to make cigarettes, or he has some objects in the spiritual world. So Kardec was, how can he have objects in the spiritual world? And it was exactly explained like that. Through his thoughts, basically he could create the objects. Okay. So consequently, if we continue our reasoning, the thoughts has also an effect on what we call the perispirit, which is our spiritual body. This body, which is the intermediate between the spirit, which is non-material, and the physical body, which is material. So there is this perispirit, which is semi-material or half material, or to say it better, composed of spiritual matter, which for the time being is not yet measurable or detectable with our material instruments and or senses or means. Nevertheless, it has an effect, the spiritual body has a continuous effect on the matter, in particularly when we talk about the life. If, for instance, when I raise my hand, it's my spirit asking to my perispirit, acting on my brain, the motor centers, to make me lift my hand. So the interaction between spiritual body and our physical body, and also on the other side between the spiritual body and our spirit, is continuous. And this is the characteristic of everything which is living. So with this, we can imagine that the thought has also an effect on the perispirit. And the spirits are saying they can give their perispirit, discarnated spirit, the appearance they like or they wish, or to be younger or nicer or whatever, even looking like they were in a previous life or whatsoever. And this is also a known phenomenon. So clearly, the thought has an effect on our spiritual body. And on another hand, the spiritual body has an effect on our physical body, because it is the spiritual body which is giving, which is the organizing model, for instance, for some phenomenon like the embryogenesis. And this is then explaining why, how our thoughts can become material, answering to the question, acting on the perispirit, on the half matter, and then in turn acting on the physical matter. Okay, so yes, our thoughts have beneficial or even detrimental effects, depending whether it's a good thought or a bad thought, on our perispirit. And this, with the time, not always immediately, but with some time, will have a repercussion, will reflect on our physical body. And this is basically the explanation of, how to say, a lot of phenomenon, like some illnesses that the etiology is not very well known. We don't know from where it comes. And also on our health on the other side. For instance, this remarkable recovery, people which are condemned by the medicine, telling, oh, he has only 6 months maximum to live with a severe illness or whatsoever. And all of a sudden, from one day to the other, the person is cured, has nothing anymore. And all this can only be explained through this chain effect, from thoughts to the spiritual matter and then back to the physical matter. So again, being synchronized and tuned with good spirits or with other spirits which are in affinity with us has a kind of a multiplying effect on our thoughts, and it's even stronger. On another hand, there is also the so-called vicious circle. If we have bad thoughts, for instance, selfishness, pride, envy, jealousy, whatever, hate, and so on, we enter in a kind of a vicious circle, calling other spirits and entities, incarnated or discarnated, with the same thoughts, and which is then also amplifying these thoughts in the bad direction. Okay, so this it shows how it is important for us to make all our efforts, because it's a duty for us to take care about our physical body, to preserve it as much as we can, because it's the tool we are using for the evolution of our spirit or for our soul in the present incarnation. So it's a so-called law of preservation. That is one of the fundamental natural laws as codified by Allan Kardec. And for this, the tuning of the thoughts is fundamental. So we have to do our utmost to stay tuned as much as we can with the good spirits, with the mentors, with good persons, and so on. And this will then make us enter in the opposite circle, which is a virtuous circle, helping us to support, to fulfill our missions, to overcome the natural difficulties of life, and even with a beneficial effect on our health, as Nadja just showed, that it became already an evidence through several medical studies, even by studies which are governed not by non-spiritualist doctors. So this is what I wanted to say. So as an answer, yes, tuning is absolutely fundamental. Two or more spirits incarnated and disincarnated, this is a multiplying effect in the good direction or in the wrong direction, depending on the quality of our thoughts. So it is absolutely fundamental for us. And this is not, again, a blind faith anymore, as also this mechanism I just explained you is something that is, how to say, rational, logical, that is confirmed and by the spirits which are communicating, confirmed now also by the studies done with the effect on the questions of health and spirituality. So it shows us that it is fundamental that we stay tuned as more as we can with the divinity, with the good spirits, with the mentors who are coming here to help us in order to preserve our mental and physical health, and to enhance and to boost our evolution, at least in this life and in the upcoming lives.
Thank you, my dear friend. Well, it's a long story. We need to understand how to manage ourselves and our thoughts. And based on this, my dear Elsa, what we have learned so far is the quality of the fluids, the thoughts that surround us, it's important. For example, like if we have feelings of hate, envy, pride, selfishness, we will have irritating and toxic aspects. But however, if we do have feelings of love, kindness, charity, sweetness, we will have a calming and restorative aspects. Based on this, again, in the same book as Nadja said, The Glorious Day, chapter 4, our dear friend Joana de Anges, which is spiritual mentor of our friend Divaldo Franco, she says, the mind can fall victim to habits that take root, becoming degenerative factors for the thinking being. Therefore, it's essential that it is renewed, cultivating high ideas that generate responses to well-being. Okay, we know that, but it is difficult because in our days we have ups and downs. We can wake up well, but something happened, put us down. Then moments later, something happened, put us up. No, how can we connect our thoughts in order to have more ups than downs? Or when we have down, we have the power, the will to transform it and to up thought, higher thoughts.
So good question, really good questions, very important. And I was thinking about how to connect with the divinity and be more up and less downs in our daily lives, in our week, etc. And before I tell you some rules or golden rules, I took from the chapter 28, the Gospel according to Spiritism, the item 2, prayers for oneself. You can pray for us, okay? And it says here, we must remember that we have free will. We are surrounded of guidelines to make good use of our time, thoughts, our lives, okay? So in this preface, we have, from the moment of birth, everyone has a good spirit linked to them who constantly protects. At our side, this spirit carries out the mission of a father to his child, which is that of conducting us along the path to goodness and progress throughout the various tests of life. It feels happy when we respond to its solicitude and suffers when it sees us succumb. Its name is not important because it is not known on earth. So then, we call it by the name of guardian angel, or our good spirit, or good companion. We could also call it under the name of one of the superior spirits with whom we feel a special sympathy. We know that there are people devoted to some saints, Saint Anthony, Saint John, whatever, Saint Francis, etc. Of course, it's good because you can link your thoughts to this divinity, to this saint, to this guardian angel that could be any spirit, but in your mind is the saint that you are devoted. So this is good. A golden rule for me is starting any moment, but it starts for me in the morning. When I wake up in the morning, I think immediately my day will be a good and very special day, the most important day in my life. Everything will be fine. So I conduct my thoughts, creating the way in order my day will be the best day in my life. Why I say that? Dr. Décio Yandoli Jr., he talks sometimes and say repeatedly, and I put in my mind that is true. He said, our thoughts, our mind has cells, our brain, our neuron cells, they are living little pets or little animals, living beings. They are living. So if you has a good thought in the morning when you wake up and you say like that, today will be a blessed day. Everything in this day will be a lesson for me, a good lesson for me. It doesn't matter the way that things comes, will be a good day for me. So these little cells, little animals here, they will say, Elsa is saying that she will have a good day. We have to work on that. So she will have a good day. Okay? So this we can work together. Me, my thoughts, my perispirit, my spirit, my soul. Okay. If I wake up in the morning and say, oh my God, it's a terrible day. It's raining. Oh, it's terrible day. Everything will be difficult. I don't like to go there. I don't like this person. I have to talk with this person. I don't like blah, blah, blah. What these little ones are preparing? Oh, Elsa said that it will be a bad day. We have to work on it. So we can command our thoughts in a good or bad direction. It's up to us. Us as here in the gospel, we have our free will. We can use our free will with reasonable faith. And Charles pointed, we have to use our reasonable faith that Spiritist teachings bring to us the information that is a philosophy that gives to us the guidelines for life, how to use our days, how to use our thoughts, how to take advantage of our incarnation in order to progress. Okay, good rules. This one, using in the morning, using during the day, or even when you receive a bad message. Someone is gossip in your back, or someone is throwing darts against you of jealousy or other things, and you receive all these impact things, bad things against you, and you put it here and say, oh, I don't like this person, she did this, and the one did this against me, and I will take my vengeance, etc. Don't do that. Everything that comes towards you, if the person is the one that in need, if she's doing this or he's doing this against you, he is the one that is provoking, he was the one responsible for the act that he's doing. Don't take this as a gift to you and hold it. No, you can go and see a plant that you like, a tree. I have my tree in the garden here. And everything that comes against me or that make me feel miserable or something, I said, no, I don't feel miserable. I am a son, a daughter of God. God created me to be happy and use good, in a good way, my thoughts. So I go to my window. I say, thanks God for this person sending this to me. I will take these thoughts or bad influence and is a compost to my beautiful tree. So I send these bad thoughts, these bad things to my beautiful tree. My tree, even in winter, she's full of leaves. It's beautiful because rubbish in the kitchen go as a compost. You can make a compost for the rubbish things, no? So you can make a compost of your rubbish thoughts or rubbish thoughts, that energy that comes from others towards you. Don't hold this with you. Don't take this in your shoulders and be unhappy during the day because someone said something that perhaps not with an intention, but hurt you. Don't take this with you. You can elect one plant, one tree, a vase or whatever, and do it. You tell me later on, when weeks, you can see the difference that you make in your day, in your life. Don't hold these bad things against you. Your connection to the divinity, to Mother, Father, God, is a clean way, a clean link. So keep this link clean in a positive way. So take a time in your day, even 5 minutes, sit on your own, even if you are amongst people, on your own, elevate your thoughts, receive a shower, a good shower, a beautiful shower of lights. And imagine this shower of lights comes towards you, refresh your spirits. Even if you are amongst people that are talking, you can do that. But this is an exercise that help me. I sit here on my chair and I keep this serenity for so long during the day when I do this for me. That's a good thing. So don't when someone is shouting with you or saying things that you don't like, don't say things back immediately. when you have to say things back, say in a lower voice, so the person will listen you. If you're shouting the same level of shouting, you make a bad energy surround you both and attract, of course, in a spiritual lower order, or the one that wants to see fighting, as people does fighting of chickens or fighting of dogs, etc., in order to only to be amuse themselves. Don't do this for yourself. Don't do this for others, okay? And most important, love yourself. Look yourself in the mirror. Don't say only, my head is not good. I might have some things here. No, look in your eyes. Look in your eyes. Say, oh my God, how beautiful I am. God made me like that. I have a lesson of my entire life to be like that. And I love myself. If someone or others don't love you, love yourself and love others as you'd like the others love you. And do unto others what you like the others do unto you. So, of course, this is the law of cause and effect. We can do more than we think. The power of our thoughts, oh my God, is incredible. The power of thoughts linked with a prayer, oh my God, can do much more. And we can heal ourselves using our positive thoughts, with our good energy. Of course, if you are under depression, if you really are in needs, you can go to a therapist, you are a psychologist, or whatever, a counselor. But most important, you have your spiritual guide, your guardian angel. Doesn't matter your religion, your philosophy, your beliefs. Each one of us, before we're born, we have a companion that is helping us in our incarnation, stay with us during our incarnation, and sometimes take after. When we discarnate, these good spirits are surrounding us. It's his task in order he as well, or she can evolve. So this was more or less something that is important to think about. And don't take the problem of the world towards your shoulders. You have to walk according your gap between your steps. So do what you can do. If you can do everything during the day, say, okay, I didn't, so I can do tomorrow. But don't chastise yourself. Don't blame yourself for things. Don't fill yourself with some problems that is not yours, and clean your mind. You see the difference. You don't need to ask to every moment to others, pray for me, pray for me, pray for me. No, pray to yourself. Your prayer has the most important power linked towards, directed to your benefactors that take your prayer to God. I think that's it. Oh my goodness, I spoke too much today. Thank you, Stevan. Thank you. Oh, that's it.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you very much. So we have so many people agreeing with you here. Like Guilherme saying, that's true. Thank you. Marisa saying, it's beautiful as a perfect. Also, she says here, we are what we thought, we eat what we give us, how you feed us, So it's so many comments here. Thank you. Thank you very much for these rules. Let's say golden rules, we can call it, Yeah. So let me see. Also, our friend Leah from Sweden, she says, clear our mind, the rest shall follow. Yeah. And Maria Eugenia say thank you. So thank you for being here with us, Maria Eugenia. Well, unfortunately, our time is up. Just let me show some announcements here. Let me put it here. Oops, I forgot to. Okay. So, my dear Elsa, this is your book. It's already in Amazon, I think. And this is a wonderful book, especially for children, in order to have a difficult conversation about suicide and how they can keep this love and higher thoughts. If you want to say something, please, my dear.
No, it is important. If parents, relatives, grandmother, grandfather would you like to have this book on Amazon, is really cheap, but takes a lot of advantage, especially in these days now, that a lot of children listen people talking about death, one is departing. So when they ask about death, the book is ready to help. Okay, the good pictures, good figures, so it's easy to talk about death with this small book. Thank you.
Thank you. Also, our dear friend Nadja, she has a show once a month in Lithuanian. So I welcome and invite everyone here to listen her show. You can watch this on Estação da Luz or www.webradioestaçãodaluz.com.br. And last but not least, next week we will talk about psychological problems and spiritual attachment. And that's it for today. So,
thank you.
Thank you very much, our friends from Germany, friends from Spain, now from Brazil, from Canada, from Sweden, from Ireland. I can see here from UK. So thank you all for being here with us. I wish you a wonderful rest of the week, and we will have the best week of our lives.
Yes. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your company. Thank you. Thank you all. Have a good evening. Have a good day if you're listening in the day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.